you very much for staying with us. And today we're looking at the lingering issue of forex scarcity. I've been joined by forex expert Use Obimo. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me around.
You're welcome. Now, what's the reason, or what are the reasons behind the lingering issue of forex scarcity in Nigeria?
Well, first, we are currently in a pandemic era.
Okay.
The coronavirus. And during that period, there was drop in oil price that fell down to all-time low as $8 per barrel. And at this point, we are not having buyers. Buyers were not interested because as at that time, there was a dip from around 37, 38, way above 40-something down to, $7 per barrel. That's one.
Okay.
And two, there were shutdown of international flights. It was like the economy was on a total shutdown, being that business were not coming in because actually Nigeria gained Forex from sales of crude oil, which is one of our primary source of getting dollar revenue. So there were bans on international flights, and most economies as at that time were trying to cope with manage the current pandemic. So effects were more on business were affected, and the interests were more on survival than doing business, because at that time a lot of business were shut down. So influx of travelers into the country were also banned as at that time, because that's another source of getting the dollar into the economy. So, and persons that had as at that time were actually trying to hoard the dollars at that time. And when there is no supply, demand is high, definitely a lot of economy come into play, such that price will definitely jack up. So some of these factors were very much at play as at that time, and that's why we're currently in the mess of current forex scarcity that we're having.
This issue shouldn't have eased up a little since that the economy has been open, at least to an extent, for quite a while now.
To what extent has the economy been open?
At least businesses have picked up a little, even though international flight is yet to resume. But the new date for international flight resumption is September 5th.
Okay.
But should that not have eased up a little?
Well, the truth is, I don't think...
The price of oil at least has gone up a little.
We understand the price of oil has gone up to around $38, $39, $40 per barrel. But that's one factor, okay? And another major factor is we're still awaiting the resumption of international flights currently. So that's another factor. The economy is just trying to open. So it's expected that as at then, the dollars that were available were being gotten in, like a lot of persons interested in dollar transaction had to acquire it. Now, influx, as at that point in time, CBN stopped sales of Forex to BDC and other interested users. So that has created a temporary scarcity, which it will take time to normalize. So for now, we are still suffering some of the pandemic, the effect of the pandemic in terms of acquiring the dollars and all that. So I think it will still likely linger on, because right now they plan to start sales of dollars for international travelers. As the last time they started sales for Bureau de Change. So the ones that were available as at that time, people had it. So it's normal that when this kind of thing is actually bound to happen in a system like this, such that people had these dollars.
Okay.
At the time, they stopped selling. So normally it's possible to hoard your product. Then as at that time when they started selling, of course they want to sell at high price. So that was why CBN warned against panic buying, the last time, saying that during their sales that dollar could drop as low as 386, 387, per dollar and all that. So it's still the scarcity that we had during that period that is still lingering on. Even banks, even bank has also tried to limit their international transaction on their MasterCard. Imagine most banks have limited their transaction on online transaction from $1,000 to as low as $100. So there's a lot of, even the banks don't even have this Forex to actually give out. So it's a question of demand and supply, which is actually telling on the economy. So I think that it will still likely linger on for probably a while till everything settles down, and then the economy bounce back to normal before we can start, getting the rate. But basically, what's happening right now is, I would say, is artificial scarcity, because the Naira has not really depreciated to that level based on economic reforms. But based on the few persons that have it, we are not bringing in dollars right now.
Okay.
Okay. And I was reading that I think CBN, they are trying to, because our major source of dollar is the sale of crude oil.
Okay.
Which is the only source. And as at that time,
is that the only source or the
that's
major
the major source? Actually,
okay.
That's the major source. For international travelers, that's another added source. And I think right now, the CBN, they are trying to look into non-oil export goods, because they said that we're actually earning $2 billion per annum from that angle. So they are trying to see how they can times it by 6, probably any as high as 12 billion US dollars. So that would reduce the dependence on oil production. Like, we normally get our dollar from oil, sales of oil. So if they are looking at all those alternatives, that would also boost the availability of dollars and then reduce the pressure on the oil sector.
But the CBN has also talked about exploitation of funds, yes. Particularly for exporters who, at the end of the day, the exporters' funds, maybe to pay their partners abroad. So it takes away the funds that was supposed to make the make Forex more available in the country. But we also have the international oil companies and the telecommunication companies complaining that they are unable to repatriate funds to their shareholders to pay them because there is not enough Forex available. So how do you marry these two? It's like, while the CBN is complaining that some exporters are repatriating funds out of the country, thus reducing the supply of Forex, some operators here still need to take out funds.
Now, the issue is, when funds are being taken out, there is need for them to be returned to make it available for persons that need it to have access to it. But a situation where it's being taken out and there is no return,
it doesn't return,
it causes scarcity. So these are measures why CBN, they are finding themselves in a fix right now, because some of these funds are being taken out, but they are not coming into the country for other persons that have need for it. So that will automatically put a lot of pressure on supply, because as at this point, demand is short. So that's why even the CBN, they are saying that they are requesting for BVN of all those exporters who default, not returning the funds back, they will be, sanctioned. Because at this point, this is not telling good on the economy. It will put undue pressure on the naira. Now imagine someone, for example now, imagine someone that is doing online transaction using dollars, and as at that time, there is a limit, reduction, from, just imagine, $1,000 to $100.
$100. What would that do? With $100, how do you think businesses will manage?
It's affecting business. It's affecting business. As a Nigerian, you just have to find a way to survive. Okay, now going to the black parallel market to get these dollars is even not easy. I haven't had a similar experience. Yes, I had a similar experience during the weekend. Even the Aboki is saying that he doesn't even have to give to me. So imagine
that's
that.
an extreme situation.
It's extreme. So at the end of the day, you see that you just have to survive anyhow, whatever the rate is. So that's why we are having, for me, from my own personal analysis, that's why I think we're having these unnecessary, increment in price, because the dollar is scarce. So I think the CBN has to be very tough on their policies to ensure that those guys that are taking funds out will be able to return it back, to the economy, because it's look at it. We are looking at fundamental factors, which is the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, these kind of things are expected. And what most people don't understand is that, well, actually, the sales of Forex, a lot of persons also make money from it. Even if it's 1 naira or 2 naira difference, but it's at the detriment of the economy, because people that have need for it no longer have access to it. So thank God that CBN, they plan to, resume sales for persons that, have need for the dollar. So I think that would also help to, bring a lot of flexibility in the system, then enhance circulation. And the resumption of international flights would also help, because these are persons that wants to go abroad and come in. The Nigerian naira is a legal tender in Nigeria, but not a legal tender abroad. So they are bringing. So I think as soon as
the more they come in,
the more they come in, business start opening, and most importantly, taking the guidelines,
Okay.
the NCDC guidelines into play, you know, in as much as we're trying to open the economy and all that, but we'll tend to have access. But these things, I think that will be, all of these shortage will be short-lived, probably when business finally opens fully. And it's also a good step. I think CBN, they're also on it to ensure that we should not solely depend on oil, because that's our major source of revenue in terms of the dollars. They should look out for non-oil export, so that we can increase earning and get dollars from different sources, so that we don't have this kind of issues, because at the end of the day, it tells on the average business person.
Okay. Now, while we're encouraging exports, why do you think exporters would take out funds and not bring them back in? Is it that the exporters are not based in Nigeria, or these are not Nigerians, and that's why by the time they export, the funds go there and they don't return? If you are a Nigerian exporting, by the time you take out funds, it's not logical that you want to bring back the funds. What could be the other reasons?
Well, the truth is, like I said before, the foreign exchange market is, whoever that is trading in the foreign exchange market has the potential or has this mindset to make profit.
Okay.
Are you getting it now? Fine, we know that there is current scarcity. Whoever that is getting us at this time is getting at a high price.
Okay.
Are you getting it? And this thing is not going to, I will put it now, the solution is not just going to come immediately. So even for the short-time holding, it's not like they don't have the access to bring it back to Nigeria. But I just feel that
it's more like a deliberate thing.
Deliberate thing, holding. For the short-time holding, the dollar will definitely appreciate, you know, against the Naira. So that time interval, because we're looking at currency trading, we're looking at time interval. You know, that time interval could actually make them some millions. So that's just the overview of what's happening, not necessarily.
So hoarding here is the major problem.
What?
Hoarding.
Yes, hoarding
seems to be the major, apart from the fact that different sectors of the economy have not opened up. Hoarding is the major issue.
Yes, because the economy has not bounced back to its natural running.
Where dollars are coming from different areas.
You know, so when some of these things are opened up such that the economy can earn more of this, you see, people will start releasing, you know, whatever it is that they are holding. So it's still, the concept is still about profit taking.
So what would be the way to deal with this system of hoarding?
Well, like I said before, it's a man-made situation.
Because we have the CBN pegging the exchange rate and asking BDCs not to sell more than that. Do you think that guideline will be adhered to?
These are policies made from the top.
Okay.
But if you want to ask the average man to go straight to the parallel market to get this thing done, you see that it's well different. Because the current exchange rate between the CBN and the parallel market is
wide.
It's wide, very wide. And I would say that artificial scarcity is what is actually causing that margin. Because, fine, these rules are being made from the top, but how many of these BDC are actually adhering to, you know, some of these rules? So it will definitely linger on until the economy opens up, until there is excess supply.
Okay.
Until there is excess supply, price will definitely remain at that level, or even go higher. But when there is excess supply, naturally definitely the market will come down. So it's not about making policies. Fine, making policies, fine, is okay, but
maybe there should be monitoring. In addition to
well, monitoring, but I just feel that the market should naturally operate itself by making availability of the dollar in excess to control the price.
But we've most times waited for the market to get back on its feet naturally, and it takes a very long time since that natural process is never allowed to be completed.
But in this case, I think in this case is different because of the pandemic.
Okay.
There are a lot of businesses were shut down, international communities shut down, nobody's going out, nobody's coming in. So I feel this is actually what caused the spike in price. So I think if the economy opens up and business allowed to return to normal, we might not really get it at that said rate, which is the 388, but it should be at least
something
fair,
close to it.
Something close to it, but not at that rate that is pegged.
Well, we'll keep hope alive and wait for September 5 when international flights would open, and basically most businesses would from there pick up.
Yes,
and
yes.
then we'll expect a positive change
Hopefully.
in the economy.
Hopefully.
Availability of Forex is what most business persons
Very important.
are asking for. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Until next week, I'm Blessing H. Remember, COVID-19 is real. Stay safe.